afternoon, barely, and welcome back to the farm. I'm still in recovery from building all those shelves last week, but I thought I'd take it easy on my content this week, and I thought I would show you what's been going on with the chickens. Right, so as you can see, we've made a couple of changes here in the coop. I noticed that they were roosting on the bar in front of the door because they've gotten, look at how big they are. So there's kind of enough room for one, maybe two on a rung. So they were spreading themselves out more. So I got a third ladder to give them a little more roosting space. And this summer I may rethink putting bars across the coop. I'm sorry. They're pecking at my boots. I also got very concerned that it seemed like they weren't eating a lot. The buckets that I used to feed them, they were emptying every couple of weeks. And for most of December, I didn't have to fill the bucket at all. So I shifted from using the bucket feeder to, I've got one of the large rubber pans. I got a smaller one for the water, but I got the large rubber pans. Oop, excuse me. Excuse me. James, move your butt. And I got, to make it easier on myself, I got a couple of metal buckets. And that's what I'm keeping their feed in. So I give them a couple of scoops of feed and then a scoop of scratch grains every day. The scratch grains, you're not really supposed to feed it to them that often. But because it's been so cold, we've had more days below 30 degrees than above. I want them to have the corn for the extra protein, for the extra body heat. And they seem to be doing fine. I don't see anybody having any issues. As you can see, they're unhappy that the water is frozen. So I've got to break that out for them and give them fresh. I don't know how much they're using it, but I put a little dust bath in there so they can try and keep their feathers clean. The biggest change, you'll notice that the wire is off the nesting boxes because at least a couple of them have started laying eggs. I haven't yet figured out exactly what time they lay them. So it's 12:30 here now and I don't have any eggs. I also have to double check the floor because they aren't real good about remembering that they're supposed to lay them in the box, and sometimes I'll find them on the floor, but I don't see any there today. Usually it seems to be between 2:30 and 4:30 is when they tend to lay. And I didn't need to see that, Henry. I tend to be getting about 2 eggs a day. I did actually have 3 yesterday, so that was exciting. So those are the big changes in here. You can see how big everybody's gotten. There's Henry. None of them will go outside. The coop is open every day. And the best I've seen is that they'll stick their heads out the door, but nobody wants to go out in the snow. So they're a bunch of chickens that way. And I did just notice, I think we've got a mouse nest, so I'm gonna have to go in there and pick that out. Because of course the mice would love it in here because it's warm and there's lots of food. So we'll see what comes out of there if I get a stick and poke it. All right, speaking of poking, these guys are pecking at my toes. So let's get this water changed and get them some food. pretty much it for chores. So I'm coming out usually earlier than this. I'm usually coming out around 10 in the morning to give them fresh water. Oops, did I lose a glove? Oh no, there it is. To give them fresh water and check for eggs. And then I try and come out just before dusk and again check for eggs, see how they're doing on their water, and if they need it, I'll top up their food. But usually when I feed them in the morning, that's enough to get them through till the next day. It's a little more work than it was with just the feeders out there, but it was going to be anyway because I was going to have to be refilling the waterers because I wasn't going to be able to use the waterers. Something just went zipping by down in the lower pasture. I had an eagle come down over the roof, down into the lower pasture and park on one of the trees out there. But unfortunately, he flew off before I could get out with my camera. That's one of the wonderful things about being here, is the wildlife. Even though the deer make me crazy when they get in my garden, I prefer having them than to not have them. So I'm very satisfied. We did have a flooding event early in December. I'm not sure. I don't think I got that for you guys. And I was hoping it was going to take out the beaver dam, but that beaver dam is built solid and it's not going anywhere. So I have to decide in the spring whether I just want to make peace with the beavers or get somebody out to deal with them. But we haven't been able to find the lodge, so I don't even know where we would send somebody to trap them. So, you hear him? I guess he's very happy that they've got food now, because I starve them terribly. I'm such a bad chicken keeper. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We're in between snowstorms at the moment. This is much more what I had expected when I moved up here, that we would have snow every couple of days, maybe a half inch to an inch. That's kind of what I grew up in Michigan. And then occasionally you'd get a big storm. I don't think we're supposed to get a whole lot, although we are under a weather advisory at the moment that heavy squalls are coming through the area. So I'm not complaining because I like the snow. It's pretty. And it encourages me to stay bundled up inside. Morning. Today is the 25th of January, which is National Seed Swap Day. Now you saw New Year's Day, I did a seed inventory. And I've had my seed catalogs out. So I primarily order from Johnny's and from Fedco. I like both of these companies because they're independent. They're not owned by any of the big seed conglomerates, which unfortunately are mostly affiliated with the large pesticide companies. So, so these are really good options for those of us in the Northeast. Johnny's is based in Maine, and actually I think Fedco is too. So for those of us in the North, these are really good resources. But I realized I had Seed Swap Day coming, and it didn't necessarily make sense to order seeds when I might be able to get what I need free at Seed Swap. So I've got seeds in the basement I've got to pull up to take with me to share. And I know last year was crazy because I came home with 50 different packets of seeds, just an unbelievable variety of seeds. And I'm going to take you with me, and I'm going to take Avery with me, and we'll see what we can find at the seed swap. The seed swap ended up being a mixed results. We got there around 9:30, 9:45, and the swap started at 9. And unfortunately, we learned the hard way that you do not dawdle when getting to the seed swap, because by the time we got there, they were out of a lot of stuff. Usually they have a ton of tomato seeds and different greens, things like that. And there were 2 packets of tomato seeds left by the time we got there. So I didn't get tempted by anything that I don't really need. I have a lot of tomato seeds. But it also meant I didn't get a lot of the stuff that I did have on my list. So I did get some kale from Seed Savers Exchange. And I got a couple of different kinds of cucumbers. One's a bush cucumber and one's an heirloom. When you're getting free seeds, you don't get to be too picky about whether they're hybrids or not. I did get some of my onions. I got a couple of different kinds of bunching onions. And I got a yellow and a red. That's not going to be enough with the expanded garden, so I'll still need to order some of those, but that's fine. I got a watermelon. I got a radish. I don't know why I always plant radishes, because I don't actually like to eat radishes, but it just feels good to have something growing in the garden quickly early in the spring, so it scratches that itch in my brain to get something going. And since I didn't have to pay for them, it's not like I'm wasting money. I did get a couple of different kinds of peppers, just a random bell pepper mix, and a jalapeno and a poblano. I don't eat a lot of hot peppers, but when you want it, you want it. And so just having it either in the garden or in the fridge or preserved will be good to have. I did get another broccoli and a sprouting broccoli and a cauliflower. Now, I think this is one of the varieties I grew this year, so I'm glad to have that. I think I used up all my seed last year, because I tried to start a second batch and nothing sprouted. So having the extras is always a good plan. I did get some carrot seeds, which I do want to grow this year, but growing carrots is very tricky in general, especially with spacing. So what I'm looking for is carrot seed tape. Now, if you're looking for tape, you don't get a lot of options as far as variety. But then all you have to do is just stretch the tape out in the row, cover it over with soil, and it's automatically spaced properly. So you don't ever have to touch it. Once it starts growing, it's fine. What I did get quite a bit of were flowers. They always have a huge selection of flowers, and there were still quite a few when we got there. So I did get a couple of sunflowers. I got sweet peas, which I'm not sure if these are cutting sweet peas or not, but they're going to be pretty and they'll smell nice, so it'll be nice to have those. What you see a lot of at these swaps are people who've collected their own seeds to swap, and unfortunately I went without taking mine this year. I had a bunch of squash seeds that I'd packaged specifically to go for this, and I just left them in with my regular seeds. So so you'll get these little brown envelopes, and these are the ones I get more excited about because somebody loved these enough to collect the seeds on them. So I've got 3 different kinds of hollyhocks. I got a red and a pink, and this is a French hollyhock that it says it has pink petals with violet tracery. So I'm trying to figure out a really nice place to put these. I got some cosmos. I got some nasturtium seeds. I suspect I'm going to have a lot of volunteer nasturtiums in the garden, but it can't hurt to have a little variety. And I also got a package of amaranth seed. Now, amaranth has a lot of uses. It's a grain that you can use like quinoa or any grains like that. So the chickens will love this. It's a very pretty kind of droopy flower, very, very dark, vibrant red. It's also a dye plant. And if you remember from my flower pounding class, you can use this in flower pounding to get, again, a very dark, rich red pattern on whatever it is that you're working on. So there's a lot of good uses for this. It's also a pollinator attractor. So I was really happy to get this. Again, it's something I've got to figure out where I'm going to put. I don't know that I want it in a formal garden, but if I can put it along the edge of the woods or the creek or in the wildflower hill that I'm trying to establish, I'm not sure. I don't want to put it in the chicken yard because the chickens will just eat it before it gets anywhere, but I could maybe put it around the edge of the chicken yard, which I need to start establishing more this year. And there's a lot of seeds in this packet, so hopefully I'll have lots of opportunities with that. I have to get, my first seed starting is February 22nd. So what I do, I have a separate book that I do each year to keep track of my garden for that year. Somehow I lost my 2024 book in like June, so I lost track of what I was doing. But then what I do is I print out calendar pages. And especially at the beginning of the year, for the first couple of months, you can see I've got notes there on start dates for most of my produce that I want to put in. And those I got from the Farmer's Almanac website. Has a frost date chart. So if you Google last frost date and go for the option that comes up with the Farmer's Almanac, it'll show you your first and last frost dates, but then it will also, using that information, give you dates for when to start seeds indoors, when to start them direct seed, and when the last date is that you can plant them to get a crop. So this is a very helpful tool for managing garden. I tried one of the apps that was going around last time. It's called Seed Time. And it's a great app if you like that kind of structure. But I really struggled because I laid it all out based on my initial idea of what the garden was going to look like. But then when I finished doing all my paths and everything, I didn't have as many beds as I thought. So I wanted to clear the whole map and start fresh. And there's no option for doing that. So I couldn't use it last year. And so I'm not going back to it this year. I'm just going to stick with my... I just keep my garden plan on graph paper. And especially now, so this is my garden plan from last year. And you can see all the little dots are where the plants go, so I get my spacing right. So then this year, all I had to do was overlay this on last year's map and just copy on the beds onto the new plan and then start laying it out. But as I was laying it out and thinking about how much I grew last year, or tried to grow last year, and whether I was successful or not, and how did that match with how much I used things during the year, I realized, believe it or not, I don't have enough garden space. There's a number of things that I really like to grow, and I really like to grow a lot of, that take a lot of space. So squash takes a whole lot of space. I would really like to grow my own corn. Potatoes, I had the 2 beds. Granted, I had the vole issue, but even without that, if I had been dependent on those 2 beds for potatoes for the whole winter, it wouldn't have been enough. You know, the squash just grows everywhere. The melons grow everywhere. So I really need some space where I can grow things that I don't have to pay a lot of attention to. So corn, beans, squash, potatoes, garlic, onions, all those things can be off to a side and doing their thing while I'm fussing with staking cucumbers and tomatoes and making sure the peppers are all properly spaced and all that. So I have laid out a plan for an expanded garden bed that's going to be to the front, well, to the side of the existing garden by the door into the greenhouse. And it's going to be about halfway back up the length of the garden, the existing garden, and go almost all the way back to the hill and then out towards the front orchard. Not all the way. It's going to be 35 feet wide and 45 feet long. And then I can fit 10 4x10 beds in there, which will give me plenty of space to put in sweet corn, to put in my potatoes, to put in my onions. All of that stuff can go in there this year. I had thought I would wait and see how the garden went this year before I put a new garden in, but I realized this year I have a lot of extra help. I have Josh here, my son will be here, Morgan is going to be here, so with the 3 of us and some driving help from Avery on the mower, we can get that garden set up a lot faster than I did the existing garden myself, just on my own this year. So that's the plan. Our last frost date is May 12th, right? May 12th? This is why you have a book, because then you don't have to remember this stuff. You can just look it up. Oop, I didn't write it down. Well, that was dumb of me. It's probably in my other book. So, but I think it's around May 12th, May 15th. So I would like to have that garden turned over the beginning of April. So that would give us all of April to get that established, so that then I can start putting the plants in, it'll have time to settle, any weeds can come up and I can knock those down and get that all cleaned up. And then by mid-May, I'll be able to start putting in the corn, putting in the potato. Well, potatoes go in a couple of weeks after last frost. But I can start getting that stuff in and be ready for it. So that's what the garden plan looks like. Now, you would not think that that's very important today when it's snowing to beat the band outside. So, but And I keep getting lost in the reminder that it's not spring yet, and it's not going to be spring for a couple of months yet. I can't even really start thinking about this for 2 months. February 22nd, start date for onions. So look forward to that. And in the meantime, I now have to sit down with my list and my seed catalogs and get those ordered so that I have everything I need when it's time to start things. So I hope you'll come back for that. I hope you're staying warm. We've been very cold here for the last few days, and it looks like we're going to have snow for a couple of days, and then it's going to get very cold again. But that's winter, so thanks for coming along. I hope you'll come back and see what we get up to next. Morning. It's a couple of weeks later. It's still very snowy outside. In fact, you can't see it because of the backlight, but it's coming down pretty good out there right now. But my seeds came. So I wanted to show you what I got. Because everybody loves a seed reveal, right? Lots of stuff. So this is my Fedco package. Let's see. I've got 4 little bundles, and let's see what's in them. All right, so this bundle looks to be, I've got Rosa di Milano onions. I've got Patterson onions. I've got New York Early onions. I went a little crazy on the onions. I got Glacier Rose shallots. Oh, for some reason, I got 2 packages of Glacier Rose shallots. So, and since I don't cook with shallots a whole lot, it'll be interesting to see what I do with those. I've got Chioggia beets, and these are kind of fun beets because they're the ones that look like bullseyes. So I'm excited to grow those. I got red cord Chantenay carrots. I told you I wanted to get carrot tape because it's easier to space. Unfortunately, the carrot tape is really expensive. I think it was like $10 for 5 feet of carrot tape. And I need a lot more carrots than that, theoretically. So it just wasn't really cost effective to get those. So I didn't, I just got seeds. All right, this looks like the tomato pack. I got Sweet Treat cherry tomatoes. I generally don't like cherry tomatoes, so I'm not going to grow too many of them. In fact, I'll probably only grow 1. But I really like them for making tomato jam. They're a little bit sweeter, and they don't have as much pulp in them, so they cook down a lot easier. And I really like those for tomato jam. I got Rosa Bianca eggplant. Again, I don't do a lot of eggplant, but I do want to have 1 or 2 because I like to make a Moroccan dip with them. Cabbages. I got Red Acre cabbage. I got Early Jersey Wakefield cabbage. Is this the one? No. I got one that's pointy, but I'm not sure where it's at. I got Romanesco broccoli. And if you haven't seen the Romanescos, they're the ones that are all the little points gathered into a head. They're just really cool looking. So I wanted to grow those this year. I got more Waltham 29 broccoli. I grew those last year and I really like those. I got my bok choy because I'm pretty much out of all my bok choy. Let's see. Tokyo Bacana. I think this is a different kind of bok choy. And Bright Lights chard because I love chard. None of my chard did well this year, so I'm hoping or last year. So I'm hoping this year I'll have better luck. So I definitely want to get those going. Next pack. Oh, not a pack. Accelerate beans. These are bush bean, green bean. Again, I don't necessarily like beans, but it's one of those veggies that you should grow because they're easy to grow and they get some nutrition in your system. I'm not a good vegetable eater and I want to get better about it. So I'm not going to grow a ton of them, but I'm going to grow some. And these will can up well. I like a French bean. So I'll see about maybe, that's a lot of work. Without a Frencher, that's a lot of work. So I may not do that, but so I'll have those. More greens. I'm experimenting with perpetual spinach this year. It's not a traditional spinach, but it has a lot more endurance than regular spinach, which doesn't deal with heat very well. So it's great for spring and it's great for fall, but not so much in the summer. And the perpetual spinach, like the tatsoi I had last year, should do better. And I am growing the tatsoi again this year. I got a winter lettuce blend, which I won't plant in the spring. I'll save that for later in the year. I'm hoping to put a cold frame in somewhere. I haven't decided where yet. I may put it under the window where I've got the bird feeder next to the house, because it's really hard to get out to the garden when there's a foot of snow on the ground. So figuring out where the best place is to have a cold frame that's going to get enough sun, we'll have to see what the year brings. I did get a summer lettuce blend, so that will go in. I got the Olga romaine. I got Pirate butterhead lettuce. I love butterhead lettuces, so I've got a lot of those. I tend to prefer the butterheads to a loose leaf, although I do tend to end up picking the butterhead as a loose leaf. This is the garnet butter gem lettuce. I did get some regular spinach, so this is Oceanside and Space. Oh, I got another onion. I wondered where that other onion was. So this is a Red Mountain onion, so I'm going to put that with my other onions. Go through this pack. Yes. An onion pack. And I have this one package that's all wrapped up in fancy paper. So let's see what this is. This is a pelleted carrot seed. So if you look at carrot seeds, they're very, very fine, which is part of what makes it so hard to plant them and control the spacing. So it tends to be more common to just scatter them, cover them, let them sprout, and then as they start growing, then you thin them out. But it wastes a lot of seed. So I'm experimenting with this pelleted seed. So what this is it's basically covered in clay to make a tiny little ball. So it's easier to very carefully place your seeds where you want them. That's also, again, like the tape, about half again as expensive. So it's a little trickier. But so this says, we recommend hand sowing seeds every 1 inch to reduce hand thinning. Layer wetted newspaper on top of the seeded area for 5 to 7 days to keep soil moist during emergence. So, recommend soil temperatures of 65 to 75 degrees. So that'll be a later spring planting. So that's what I got from Fedco. And I also got an experiment this year. The one thing neither Fedco nor Johnny's had this year, which I was very invested in, were Costoluto tomatoes. These are the very ripply, almost brain-looking tomatoes. And they're actually a paste tomato. They don't have a lot of seed, pulp, and water in them, so they cook down really well for sauce, and they just taste really good. So I went out on the internet looking for where can I get Costoluto seeds that's not from one of the big seed companies. And I found this small place called Ash Hollow Farm and the Blue Pumpkin Seed Company out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And they had the Costoluto tomato seeds, so I got a pack of those. There's not a lot of seeds in here. I think it's 25 seeds to the pack. So these are very precious, and I'm going to grow them very carefully and try and preserve the seeds on that this year. But as you could tell by the name, they are more of a winter squash company. And they had some beautiful winter squash, so I couldn't resist ordering more. Because obviously I don't have enough already. So I got these snowdrop pumpkins. They're little tiny, I don't know if that's going to focus for you, little tiny white pumpkins. And again, it's not very many seeds. I think it's just 10 seeds to the pack. They sent me some free scallop squash seeds. So yay for free seeds. And then I got 50 seeds of their autumn bounty winter squash seed mix. So this is all different kinds of seeds. It's Hubbard's, it's Curry's, it's Ruvi, it's just about, and I have no way of knowing what's in this packet that's going to come up. And that's kind of exciting because it's going to make for a beautiful garden in the fall with all of these different colored squashes spread out all over the ground. So I'm really looking forward to putting those in. I also scored myself some Tulsi seed. Tulsi, look at how fine that is. Tulsi is also called holy basil. And it seems to be the trendy thing to grow right now. It's a very good medicinal herb. I think it's used for digestive issues. I've had some kombucha made with Tulsi tea that's really good. And it's also good just for making regular iced tea with. So I'm looking forward to growing some of that. My understanding is once you have it forever. So I've got to think about where I want to put that. So that's it for the seeds so far for this year. There will be a lot of plants, I'm sure, because I've got a greenhouse up in the northern part of the county that I like to go to. That's a Mennonite greenhouse. They have a lot of flowers that I really like, but I've also picked up some veggie plants and some fruit bushes there this past year, and I'm looking forward to see what they have this year. And there's a farm stand down in Oneonta that I like to go to, again, primarily for flowers, but they're good for getting some jump starts on things. Or if I have stuff that doesn't sprout well, I can get some replacements there. Again, just very standard varieties. That's the nice thing about starting your own seeds is you get to pick and choose what it is you want to grow. Like I can't find Costoluto starts at any of the farm stands because they don't carry them. People want the beefsteaks, they want the Amish paste tomatoes, things like that. The big common names. So if I want anything unusual, I've got to start it myself. So it gives you a lot of variety. And I'm hoping that I'll have extra starts on some of these that I can sell come spring and start earning some money off of the garden and the work that I'm putting into it, at least to pay for my seed starting for this year. We'll see how next year goes as I develop these skills and develop my farm stand and see what's going to happen there. I've still got today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Eagles Day. Good job, Eagles. Congratulations. I'm sorry I can't be down there for the parade because a Philly parade is a sight to behold. But I'm sorry to miss that, but I'm happy the team won. They deserved it. So it's February 14th, so I've got another 10 days before I can start anything, but then we're going to hit the ground running, and I think I'm starting stuff every week for the next 6 weeks almost before we can start getting stuff in the ground towards the end of April. But I've got another project I've got to do before that. And I've got a lot of stuff going on this weekend, including the finally, hopefully, getting to take my ham radio test, which I'm going to leave you here and go work on my practice test so I can get that taken care of. So if anybody has any tips, put them in the comments below, because I should see them before I take my test on Sunday. And then next week is more of the same. We've got the Intro to Beekeeping class next Saturday, so that I've got to get my presentations nailed down for that. And then Morgan comes back from Sweden, and my friends from New Hampshire are coming down, and I'm going to be really glad when March gets here and things can start calming down a little bit. Oh, wait, my mother's coming in March. Life is, for being winter, life is very busy, but I'm finding my downtime. I'm getting some knitting done. I've got some ceramics projects done, and maybe if you're interested, I'll do a quick video and show you what I've been working on. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll come back and see what we get up to next time. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.